Corey Brad of StoryCounty.News. We are here visiting with Nate Feldman, who has become kind of synonymous. Your family has been kind of synonymous with the Story County community recently, Nate. I want to kind of give you a platform. I know it's been covered and talked about, but your family's been dealing with something very difficult in recent time. For our listeners who haven't heard about your story and about your family's story, tell our StoryCounty.News readers and listeners maybe your background a little bit.
Sure. Our first child, William, we kind of knew he was falling behind developmentally, about 4 or 5 months years old. And so our pediatrician put him in some occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physical therapy just to try and catch him up. And no one kind of knew what was going on. And so we just saw a bunch of different specialists, doctors in Iowa City, Des Moines, and Ames, to try and figure out what was causing his delays. And we found out about a year ago that he had a rare genetic mutation in a gene called SLC6A1. It's so rare, the disease does not have a name. It just goes by the gene that's affected, which is that SLC6A1 gene. There's about just under 200 cases worldwide that we know of. And he has these global developmental delays, learning disabilities, seizures is the kind of main culprit of this disease. At the time of his diagnosis, he was having over 100 seizures a day. And we now have a neurologist in Iowa City that we've kind of gathered that and got that under control. But that's kind of the fast catch up to him now being 4 years old and dealing with this disease on a daily basis.
And you and I were talking before we jumped on. And by the way, we are here at the Brad Morgan concert, and Lisa Downs has been a part of some of the fundraising efforts, I understand, for you and your family, and what everything that's going on. Obviously, so many things behind the scene that we can't even imagine. So our thoughts and prayers go out to you and your family. But I do want to touch on briefly that some of the scientific research that you just got done relaying to me about some of the progress. Where are things at with this very new and I guess the verdict is out on some of the details of it, but what is the latest that you know of as far as research about this disease?
Sure. That was kind of our whole starting point, is what do we do with this diagnosis? And we connected with a Facebook group that this foundation was started about a year prior to our son's diagnosis, and they're working on gene replacement therapy. So my son has one good copy of a gene and one bad copy of the gene, and this therapy would essentially be an injection that goes in and cuts out the bad copy and inserts the good copy, and basically would be a cure for him and other children throughout the world that are dealing with this disease. So it's kind of fascinating medicine that's relatively new. There's been a disease that already has been approved by the FDA that's cured in this way. And so we are currently raising funds to support that research and get that pushed through the FDA so that he can get some help.
How hard is that, too, when you are thinking about so many different diseases? And obviously, COVID has been the focus within the medical community now for, 15, 16 months now. How hard is that, though, when you have so many different diseases and so, from a scientific and from a international standpoint, a small number of people that have been recognized to have this or diagnosed, so to speak? How difficult is that to know that you're fighting against the numbers, so to speak?
Absolutely. That's a very good point. And the main reason we are doing the fundraising as a family and as a community, Story County community, is because drug companies don't care about rare disease very much, because it's not profitable for them to invest in research and development for a cure. And the gene replacement therapy would cost about $4 to $7 million to get that pushed through the FDA. So we've kind of had to fight individually as a community, as our local communities come together to raise these funds. We're kind of climbing up a mountain, so to speak, and with COVID, that just kind of brought everything to a halt. Our research lab shut down, and the focus, rightfully so, was on COVID. But we're kind of back up and running now, and my family and I are actually going to Dallas next week to meet the team down there that's doing the gene replacement therapy and get some initial kind of study work and data gathered.
And again, your story has resonated with a lot of people across the state, but maybe talk for just a moment about the local community here in Story County. You're from Story City, so what's it like to have the Iowa nice, so to speak? Maybe, I don't know if you put yourself in position as someone who maybe didn't grow up in small town Midwest. What's that been like, the support you've gotten from the local community?
Yeah, it's been incredible. When we started, Lisa Downs reached out to my wife. She saw a post, and that's why I'm here tonight. And the Cornucopia had a kind of holiday sale and donated 10% of proceeds for the weekend to it. And then it got picked up by Iowa State Athletics as the Iowa State kid captain. And we recently had a Way for Will is the local foundation name. He had a fun run in Story City, which was a 5K and a fun run for kids. And the turnout was exceptional. We just had so many people show their support, people we knew, people we didn't know. Growing up, I grew up in Jewell, so not too far from here. My wife grew up in McCallsburg, so we're kind of local. But just the support of a small town, small community has been unbelievable. The Iowa Nice is a real thing. Absolutely,
and I'm an Iowa guy myself as well, and certainly your story has resonated with me. If people want to give towards the foundation, which again goes to research, right? How can they go about doing that? Maybe on a more informal basis, where they're, when we don't have a formal fundraiser in place.
Yeah, so you can go to our son's website at awayforwill.org. That's AWAYFORWILL.org. So awayforwill.org is the main place to donate. Facebook page, you can find my wife or myself on there. There are links to that, or the SLC6A1 Connect group. If you come across that, that's another way to donate.
Nate Feldman speaking on behalf of his young son, Will. And again, if you are interested in giving, do not hesitate. Towards a great cause, research that can help not only Will, but many, many children, and I'm sure many to come in the future. So, Will, we appreciate the time, and again, we'll continue to keep you and your family in our thoughts and prayers, and best wishes going forward.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, StoryCounty.News signing off here. Corey Bratta, we will talk to you soon.